Hey everybody, this is Steve with Technoformer. Today we're looking at the LG V10 Android phone. This phone is very similar to its little brother, the LG G4, but it has a little bit bigger screen and some camera enhancements. The design of the phone is very rugged and sturdy. The dimensions are 6.28 inches high, 3.13 inches wide, 0.34 inches thick, and 6.77 ounces. It's not the thinnest or lightest phone on the market, but it's actually very solid in the hand and feels extremely well built. The LG button placement on the back of the phone is something you either love or hate. I personally love it. When I pull it out of my pocket, my index finger is resting right on the power button, so by the time I have it out of my pocket and facing me, the screen is on and ready for my input. The middle edges on each side of the phone have two purposes. One, they're aesthetically pleasing, giving the phone a slightly more premium look. Because of the button placement on the phone, there's no buttons to break up that solid line down each side. The second reason is they provide continuity between the phone and the fingerprint reader on the back, and I'll get more into that later. The only visible ports on the phone are the 3.5mm headphone jack and the micro USB port. Both of them are located at the bottom of the phone, along with the one speaker grill that's on the device. On the back of the phone is the 16 megapixel camera, power and volume buttons, and a removable back, which is pretty unique on modern phones. Removing the back from the device reveals the 3000 mAh battery, SIM tray, and micro SD slot. Inside the phone there's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 808 processor and an Adreno 418 GPU. The phone comes with 64 gigabytes of storage, which is expandable even further via the micro SD slot, and it has 4 gigabytes of internal RAM. With specs like that, you'd think that gaming would be very smooth and fluid, but I was actually surprised to get some noticeable lag on many of the titles I tried. I wouldn't say the lag was bad enough to make the games unplayable, but definitely took away from some of the immersion of the games. The main screen of the phone is a beautiful 5.7-inch IPS display covered with Corning Gorilla Glass 4 with a resolution of 1440 by 2560 at about 515 pixels per inch. The screen is very bright and vivid with much more true colors than you'd find on other phones. While the saturation is a bit enhanced, it's not nearly as much as on other phones like the Galaxy line. The brightness on the phone is very nice, even out in direct sunlight, and the auto brightness setting seems to be spot on. I found myself not messing very much with the screen brightness at all, apart from very seldom occasions. With a large bright screen and excellent viewing angles, this screen is ideal for viewing media and playing games. The V10 also has what's called a second screen. The second screen is a 2.1-inch screen located at the top of the phone just to the right of the dual front-facing cameras. From the main screen, it has three main functions that can be accessed by swiping to the left or right. A custom message that's changeable via the phone settings, a list of most recent apps that automatically reorganizes as you launch the applications, and lastly a set of shortcuts that are changeable just by dragging icons out of the bar to remove them and dragging them to the bar to add them. Rearranging the shortcuts is done in the same way. When you're in an application that supports it, the second screen can become a very useful way to access quick functions for the app. For instance, with the built-in camera app, the second screen automatically switches to shortcuts for the simple interface, auto mode, manual video mode, and LG Snap Video mode. When the phone is off, the second screen gives a quick glimpse to new notifications and the time, and also lets you toggle some settings like the Wi-Fi on and off, Bluetooth on and off, etc. When the screen is off or when in an application, the other functions like custom shortcuts of the second screen are not available. The V10 also has a fingerprint reader. This reader is located on the back of the screen and doubles as the power button. It's a breeze to pull the phone out of your pocket, hit the power button, and let your finger rest on the button for just another second or so, and the phone unlocks. It works great, when it works, that is. I found that the fingerprint recognition to be a little bit spotty. It worked most of the time, but not all the time, and when it doesn't, it's a bit frustrating to lift your finger off and have to tap it back on a few times to get the phone to unlock. The biggest drawback to the reader, in my opinion, is the way it's implemented. Apparently, your hand needs to be in contact with the metal frame around the phone to produce continuity to the fingerprint reader. Because of how the reader is placed, this is normally not an issue, but forget about using any kind of case with the device. The case interrupts that continuity and causes the reader to stop working. This phone is extremely durable, but I put a screen protector in a case on all my devices, so this is a major drawback for me. The cameras on this device are really where the phone excels. The V10 has 3 separate cameras. The main rear camera is a 16 megapixel camera shooting at 5312 by 2988 with an 8 times zoom and shoots up to 4K video at 30 frames per second. The photos and the videos on this device are simply stunning, with very good image stabilization, great low light performance, and slow motion options when shooting at 720p. The front of the phone sports two 5 megapixel cameras, one with a slightly wider lens than the other to capture more people or background when taking selfies. I'm not quite sure why they didn't just go with the one wider angle lens, but they both work very well and take very clear 5 megapixel shots. The camera application is fantastic. This is one of the few phones I've owned where I didn't immediately go out and download a better camera app. The app has a standard auto point and click mode for photos and videos, and for the average person, these modes take absolutely stunning photos and videos with good saturation and very true to life colors. For those that want a lot more control over their photos and videos, there's a full manual mode for both photos and videos. Adjust white balance, focal length, ISO, shutter speed, etc. When shooting videos, you can control the bitrate and even tweak the front and back microphone in case you want to get more of the subject audio or more from the audio of the shooter. When taking pictures, you can choose to shoot photos in RAW so you have more control over uncompressed photos when you edit them in Photoshop, GIMP, or your editor of choice. Both the hardware and the software of this device make it truly a joy to shoot media on. As I mentioned before, the battery on this phone is a 3000 mAh battery, which is the same size as the Galaxy Note 5, but is actually not nearly as long lasting as the Note 5. With moderate use of the phone, I will just barely get through one day of use. One explanation may be the second screen, but LG claims that this screen will only use about 5% of the battery over the course of an entire day. The upside is that using fast charging, the phone can charge from dead to 100% in between 60 to 70 minutes. In addition to the fast charging, this is one of the few new phones that will still allow you to pull the back off and swap out the battery. But in all honesty, who wants to carry around a spare battery? Hopefully there will be an update with some future optimization that can be done to improve the battery life a bit, but for right now it's not very impressive. Even though this phone sports a standard Bluetooth 4.1, it seems really sketchy for me. I tried multiple devices with this phone, and there were some, like the Motorola stereo headset I have, that just randomly dropped connections, some that worked fine with no drop connections at all, and some that wouldn't connect at all, like the Microsoft Band 1 and 2. There's several posting on multiple forums about Bluetooth connectivity and issues with the V10 specifically, but also with some other Lollipop 5.1 devices, so it's unclear at this point if this is a hardware or a software issue. But I'm hoping there will be a patch to come out to increase the reliability of the Bluetooth. For the most part, the performance of the phone is extremely smooth and fluid, even more so if using third-party launcher over the default LG launcher. Transitions between screens is fluid, launching apps is quick, and launching into as well as navigating the app drawer is very smooth. Play media went off without a hitch. From 1080p local content to streaming from services like Netflix and Hulu, I had no problem at all. Gaming, for the most part, works very well. Most titles launched and played very smoothly without issue. However, there were some select games that showed some noticeable stutter during the gameplay. Depending on the game, this ranged from no stutter at all to a slight slowdown now and then to frequent freezing, making the game completely unenjoyable. This may be due to poorly optimized games as much as the device itself, but it's something I was experiencing during testing. So overall, the LG V10 is a good phone, but for my usage, I can't say it's a great phone. I use Bluetooth a lot, and I use my phone a lot during the day, so the spotty Bluetooth performance and the poor battery life are both pretty big deals for me. Sure, you can swap out the battery, but honestly, I don't want to have to carry around a spare battery and keep it charged, especially when I shouldn't have to with a 3000 mAh battery that's in the phone already. Things I do like about the phone are the camera, hardware, and app, which are both simply amazing. The overall performance of the phone is excellent, and the fact that you can expand the memory is definitely a huge bonus when you can't on other similar phones. If the Bluetooth and the battery life are not a big deal for you, or you can keep the phone charged throughout the day, then this is actually a really good phone. But if you're away from a charger a lot, use your phone a lot, or rely on connectivity with Bluetooth devices, then you may want to look at other options. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you found it useful and informative. Please follow us on Twitter and Facebook and click the like button and subscribe below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.